many doors I couldn't think to dream. Just imagine what I can do when you believe. Alone in my room, I cried, Lord, why you love me.
Hey, everybody. This is Voices of Wisdom, incredible conversations that feed the mind, move the heart, and lift the soul. I'm your host, Sabrina Nichole, and I'm so glad you've joined us. March is Women's History Month, and we're elevating the voices of amazing women who are using their gifts to spread love, healing, and hope in the world. Simply put, these are women doing God's work. And speaking of God's work, we're sending a special thanks to our sponsor, The Kindled Life, a company on a mission to spread hope and breast cancer awareness. Check out their website in the video description and place an order in support of breast cancer warriors. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Voices of Wisdom. I'm your host, Sabrina Nichole, and we know for the month of March, which is Women's History Month, we are elevating the voices of women who are doing God's work. And God's work is really any activity, anything that we're doing that leads to love and hope and healing and just a better life for us all. And I could not be more excited than to have a conversation today with a dear friend who I got her permission to also say, you know, she's a certified financial planner, a CPA, and just the angel sent by God to help me get my life in order. Mary Lou Daly. Mary Lou, thank you so much for joining us today on Voices of Wisdom.
Sabrina, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here today, and so sweet what you have said. I don't see, as you know, I don't see myself as an angel, but I love the ability, I love what I'm doing, and the ability to be able to help individuals. So, yeah. So
well,
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And, I was going to say, Mary Lou, it definitely shows that you love what you do. You have a passion for this. And, I think when we talk about financial planning, when we talk about building wealth, when we talk about really making sure that we have, to the best of our ability, a secure future, I just don't know if we really understand that as spiritual work, as sacred work. But I believe it is, and I assume that you believe it is also.
I do.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about exactly what you do. What is a CPA? What is a certified financial planner? Yeah.
Absolutely. So a CPA is a certified professional accountant. I believe it's been so long since I've tried to define that. But that's kind of what my history is in, is I was a CPA first, and then became a certified financial planner later in life. And really, in my mind, what that means, that more the certified financial planner piece, the CFP piece, is working with individuals to help them build what their financial plan looks like and steps that they need to take to achieve the goals that they would like to achieve. And some of that has to do with money, and some of that has to do with like building your estate plan and making sure that you have those documents pulled together. Or maybe you've looked at life insurance and you want to make sure that you have the appropriate coverage that you need. All those types of things, planning for retirement or planning for something that's going to happen in 2 or 3 years, college, new car, all those kinds of things are what I do. I just help individuals think through those processes and figure out, if there's a specific amount that we need to be setting aside, what is that amount? Where can we find that money coming in? Those kinds of things. Estate documents wise, I tease my sister all the time. She still doesn't have her estate documents done. I can't tell you what age she is, but she's over 50. We'll go with that one. But she's single. And so there's still risk there, but less risk than if she had children, that kind of thing. And so we used to say, when I worked at Bragg Financial, we used to say kind of any financial question is what I want to help individuals with. And in the new business that I'm doing, I really want to explore a little bit more about our relationship with money and how we understand money. And sometimes those are good things, and sometimes those are negative things that keep us from being able to save.
Yeah.
And some of those things are what bring up shame in us and all types of emotions that surround the money pieces. Money causes a lot of stress to individuals. So if I can help them with that relationship and to better understand what they learned about money when they were younger and what the positives or what the truths are from that and what the falsehoods are in that, to me, I'm hoping that will then help individuals be able to pursue the monetary path that they want to take.
You're so right. At least for me, I have known you for, 14 years now. And in the 14 years that I've known you, you've been so willing to answer questions for me, or, to have me kind of tap you on the shoulder and say, Mary Lou, this is what I've got going on. What do I need to do? Or what would you advise that I do about this? And it took probably 13 of those 14 years for me to get over the shame of, here's my financial situation, and the psychology of that. And I remember sharing with you a conversation I had with my brother. I borrowed some money from him. I was feeling really guilty about that. And he looked at me and said, it's not our fault our parents were poor. And so, and I shared that with you, and we kind of chuckled about it, but you just helped me feel less ashamed. You made me understand how, the psychology that we, in the relationship we have with money, is not uncommon, right? Like what I was dealing with, what I'm facing even now, is not uncommon. Say a little bit more, if you could, about the need for folks to kind of move past their shame, move past some of the secrecy. For example, growing up, we just didn't talk about money.
Those are really just pieces that hold us back. My understanding is that when you look at kind of what our personal traits are, we learned those at an early age, kind of ages 7 to 10. The same thing is true with money. So our language skills weren't great back then. So a lot of what we absorbed was what we saw, what we thought we saw, all different pieces of it. And we've got to just understand that we all make mistakes. And if we haven't been educated in this space, we're more likely to make a mistake. And so, but it's so easy to make that mistake and then want to hide behind it because you are ashamed. You think to yourself, I should have known better, which is not true. If you don't have the full information to work with, you can never know better.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. If you're only working, if you're trying to bake a pie and you only have half the recipe, it's not going to come out as a pie. It might come out as some really good sugary fruit, but there's not going to be a pie there.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where I just want everybody to understand that we all at times have shame. We all at times, heck, man, I did it just yesterday with the peppermint patties that I was eating. So it doesn't even have to do with money. I had way too many than I should have had. So I'm not going to tell my husband about it. But it's one of the where that's the wrong answer when you're talking about money, though. Money drives so much stress in our lives. And with relationships, whether it be with your partner or your family or your friends, can ruin them if you're not honest about the conversations. And I tell it to a lot of young couples that are getting ready to get married. You must have open and honest conversations. And you can't, like when I'm conversing with you, I can't make you feel guilty. That doesn't help either of us. So I don't want to say anything negative about, well, I can't believe you just went out and bought, whatever that is, or I can't believe you ran up the credit, that's placing judgment. And that is not our role, to place the judgment. Our role, my understanding, looking to God, our role is to work together and to help each other and to love each other.
Yeah.
And that this is a world of abundance. We can all rise to the top without somebody having to sink to the bottom.
Yeah.
And so how can we do this? How can we help each other with it? The building of wealth is building it so that we can glorify God. We can use some of that wealth to help others and to glorify God. It's not, a lot of people will, I mean, money's all over the Bible. And a lot of people will say that it's all negative. It's not. It's not. Money is not negative in the Bible. The usage of it.
Yes.
How we lift it up so that we try and equate it to God's level.
Yeah.
That's where it becomes negative.
Yeah.
So I know I went in a huge circle on that.
No, that's
really
good stuff.
really, it's the raising each other up.
Yeah.
And feeling like you have to create a safe space. You've got to feel safe enough that you can open up with that person, that they're not going to judge you, and that they're going to be willing, and that they're not going to leave you because of what you've just said. That they're going to be willing to, it's kind of that footsteps in the sand poem. There's steps right beside each other. And maybe there are times where there's only one set of footsteps because that person has picked you up to help carry you.
Yeah.
But it's a work, I think of it, I just see the kind of the set of two sets of footsteps in the sand. You want to walk that path with each other to help each other. And once again, for you to succeed doesn't mean I have to lose.
Yes.
We can both succeed together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And you've said so much that just really resonates with me and touches me deeply. This understanding that there's abundance in the world, which is very counter to that message that we've received around scarcity. It's every man for himself, and it's like, no, there's plenty to go around. And just elevating the need for people to feel safe, to not feel judged. And I mean, you answered a good bit of that question around how is what you're doing God's work. You said it, that this is love. This is showing love. This is lifting one another up. And so I just want to share too, something that you wrote to me that was just beautiful. You said, ultimately, your goal is to help people build wealth and give generously. That
Absolutely.
is so beautiful to me. So Mary Lou, how did you get here? How did you find yourself doing God's work in this way?
So Sabrina, it was a winding path in a sense. As I mentioned before, I started off as a CPA. So when I got out of college, actually, they hired me without my CPA. I didn't have enough classes to sit for the exam. So 2 weeks after graduation, I started summer school, and they sent me back to school to get enough classes to sit for the exam. And then I did night school for 2 different sessions. And 9 months into my first job, I got let go. I lost my job.
No.
And they got permission to not do the program anymore. So it wasn't anything that I had done, but 9 months into my first job. And I thought, okay, what do I do now? Where do I go from here? And I actually relocated. I was in Charlotte and I relocated to the north, which is where my boyfriend at the time, husband of 32 years now, was living. And so we moved up there, and I went to night school up there to get a master's degree in accounting with a concentration in tax. And so I was doing that at night school while I was working during the day. I went up there and got a job and started working. So I did kind of the CPA business first. And then my boys were born. We got married. I had 2 boys. They're about 3 years apart. And my mom had been a school teacher and had stayed home with us. And that was my dream, was that if that was a possibility for us, that we would stay home. And it turned out to be a necessity, especially with my second child. You and I talked a little bit about this the other day, but he sustained an injury during the delivery process and has never been able to use his left arm. And his first 16 years of life, he had 9 surgeries.
Oh my gosh.
But his first surgery, he was 3 months old. His
Oh.
second surgery, he was a year. So I had to transition. I was not working. I had to really become almost a doctor at that point in time. I had to understand everything medically that was going on with him and how to do therapy for him. And so I kind of transitioned to a space that I really knew nothing about, and then kind of slowly went back into the CPA space. I was doing some kind of part-time work and helping out some other practitioners doing tax returns. We kind of moved up and down the coast. We had been up in New England. We lived in DC for a while. We moved to Florida. We were in Florida during the 07, 09 recession that we had. And my husband lost his job twice.
Wow.
Once in 2007, and then we moved to Charlotte for a new job. And he lost that about 6 months after we moved here. And so I realized at that point in time, I had to figure out what I was going to do. Charlotte was coming home, but it was still new city to us. It had been, at least 15 years since we had lived here.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to come here. And so I went back to work and I kind of tried to start up my own practice and was helping some other single practitioners, once again, doing tax returns. And it turns out, Sabrina, we moved here in the summer of 08. And I think it was that fall that a friend of mine asked me to be on an at-risk preschool board. It's currently known as the Learning Collaborative.
Yeah.
We kind of merged, but that's what the preschool is right now. And one of the other members on the board was a certified financial planner and did planning for a living. And he told me about his job. And I'll tell you, Sabrina, I was in my 40s, and it was the first time I ever knew that this type of role existed.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. That allows me, I can use my tax, I can use the numbers piece of my head, and I can use my ability to connect with individuals and help them with their money so that hopefully their lives are then a little bit better.
Yeah.
Based on my help. And so to me, that was like a light bulb that went off in my head. And so there was another exam. I told myself, I'm like, I cannot believe in my 40s I'm studying for another exam. But I did. My kids thought I was crazy. I studied more than they did.
Wow.
Kind of thing. It was busy. But so I studied for the exam, passed the exam, and then started working at Bragg Financial Advisors. And I would just say that was a blessing for me to be able to work with them. I worked with them for almost 13 years, and they really are the ones that kind of took my book knowledge that I had and showed me how to make it practical knowledge, and showed me how to have those conversations with clients and the parameters of what do you say when and what don't you say, or those pieces of it. And then at the end of 2023, so the end of last year, I retired from Bragg. Yeah. And immediately started opening my own business. So call me crazy, but I did. And I'm still in that process. But really my goal with this is similar to what I was doing at Bragg. I want to continue to help individuals with kind of what we talked about earlier, kind of building their financial plans or looking at their estate documents, but really adding into the relationship piece with money, because I really, truly believe that is what drives our ability to understand money, to save, and to build wealth.
Yeah. So many things stand out in my mind from what I call your call narrative, or your journey to doing this work, God's work in this way. One thing that stands out in my head is, oh my goodness, you said this winding path, but I keep thinking about these hubs, right? That along the way, you kind of stopped off at this hub, almost like a layover, at the airport.
Different stations I went to.
Yeah. And I hope that for anyone who is watching or listening, that piece of your story is encouragement for those people who are like, I can't believe I ran into this obstacle, or I can't believe this door closed. To me, some encouragement to say you're still on your way. You're on your way to where you are meant to be.
I am. And it's funny, my dad was a preacher, and he is the one who said, essentially, you really need to be fired twice. Kind of to kind of get it all together, and so and my dear husband, so the second time it got let go, my father had already passed at the time, and I just looked up and I said, well, Dad, all right, this is time number 2. We can be done now. I don't really need to do this anymore. Thank you very much. We have lived and learned enough. But you're right. You really never know what's going to be around the next corner or the next bend. And my upbringing was all about education. And so it's continuing to educate myself so that when I go around that next bend, I can use the education that I have. And man, with the internet that we have now, you can learn so much so that when you run into something, you can educate yourself on that subject so that you can better approach it and better figure out, is that going to work for you? Is it not going to work for you? Is there something, do you need a little slight different twist on it? What is it going to do? It's never a straight path. I was raised to be a mom. I was never raised to work.
Wow.
Maybe be a teacher like my mom. But that was really, it's funny, but I'm one of 4. Everybody else in the family was raised to go out and do business, even my younger sister.
Wow.
But I was the one that was raised to be the mom. I used to, so the joke used to be, I said something to my parents once, and I'm way off topic, so pull me back in. But
no, you're good.
I said something to him once about how I'm the, this is how I said it. I said, I'm the dumbest child in your family. And my dad, God bless him, my dad said, socially, you're so much better than your siblings.
Socially.
Okay. Dad, you just confirmed what I said.
No, first of all, nothing about you says dumb to me. Never has, never will. And even the extent to which you have pursued, your continued education, your continued training for this work that you're doing, I think something that just really helped me feel even more comfortable with you is the fact that I know that you're passionate about learning all you can, drawing all the wisdom you can, doing the best you can do. So I feel confident that you're not coming to me with antiquated information. I'm like, if anybody knows what's on the cutting edge, Mary Lou does.
I get in a little trouble with that because my husband tells me I buy too many books from Amazon. I have probably 15 books set aside that all deal with psychology and money that I need to read through. But yeah, I get in a little bit of trouble for that.
I love that. We're gonna say that's what happens when you are the child of an educator, because I am addicted to books myself. My mom was a teacher. So as we think about your work, your journey, your passion, which by now I'm sure people can hear and feel the passion you have for this, the question that comes up for me is, what are some of the unique challenges that women doing God's work the way that you do it, or similar to how you do it? What are some unique challenges that women face in this field?
So I would say that women coming into this field, first challenge you face is just that this is a field that was dominated by white men for years. Kind of that. It started kind of like that door-to-door salesman selling you life insurance. In the beginning, this business was purely driven by selling products.
Wow.
Life insurance, annuities, anything like that. That's where most of the individuals made their money. And so that's what drove this space. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's still difficult as a woman because it's sometimes it can be hard to walk into a room that is 95% men and only 5% women. And I go back sometimes to I don't overgeneralize, but I feel like when I grew up, we were a little bit more in a patriarchal society where women weren't seen as smart, hence possibly my father's, he's rolling over in his grave, or dancing upstairs. I don't know which, but his, like when I said I'm not the smartest in the family, he didn't see to say immediately, no, you're smart, maybe in different ways from your siblings, but you are smart.
Yeah.
And I ran into that at Bragg, actually. And some of it was because it's a family run business.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of the clients there were accustomed to talking to two of the Bragg brothers, predominantly. Benton and Phillips is who they spoke to. So I was really kind of the first woman coming in to the room to meet with clients. But I would tell you, for a number of years, I can see in my mind times when I would sit across from the client and explain everything to them and tell them kind of next steps and that sort of thing. And I vividly remember the man sitting across from me immediately turning his head to look at Benton for confirmation that what I said was correct.
Wow.
And I remember a time where Benton really had to just say the whole thing that I had just said over again, but he had to say it before the man accepted it as these were the next steps that needed to be done. So that's still kind of out there.
Yeah.
And so as a woman trying to get in this space, you don't have to accept it, but you have to acknowledge that this is the history of it. And that there is, no offense to the baby boomer generation, but that generation, they approach things different than other generations. Every generation does.
Yeah.
But that is the generation where the husband got up, put his pants on, put his hat on, and went to work.
Yeah.
The mom tended to stay home. The mom was in the minutia. She was in the details. She was the thrifty one, the one trying to figure out how to make the money stretch so that you could get what you needed to get at the grocery store.
Yeah.
The husband typically did kind of the big picture items, so the investing, that sort of thing, which is why I think there's a lot of women in that space at that age who don't understand it. So their husband passes away or they get divorced. I had some 84-year-olds who were in the process of getting divorced. The woman just hasn't had exposure to it. So that's actually a great place for a female advisor.
Yeah.
Because the women there want to talk to another female. They want to talk to somebody who understands them.
Yeah.
But when it comes back for the women who want to get in this spaces, I really believe that you have to believe in yourself. And you have to make sure you continue to educate yourself on topics so that you can prove to others that you are knowledgeable.
Yeah.
That you know the information that you're giving to them, and you know it's right, and you know it's what's best for them.
Yeah.
It's just hard sometimes understanding or going into it, realizing that they're second guessing you, that there's a possibility until they get to know you and trust you. I did find that once the clients really got to know me and trust me, that they would start to actually take my advice without having to look at a male in the room to confirm what I had said. But to me, that's still a challenge for women going into our field. This is a great field for women and persons of color because it was dominated by white men for years.
Yeah.
Those are voices that are critical for us to hear in this space because a lot of their voices are, well, the voices are just different from the white men that are in the room.
Yeah.
And we need that diversity of voices that we hear and to be able to work with the diversity of people that we work with to help them. Plain and simple.
Yeah, that's so good, Mary Lou. And, you know, you saying that reminds me of an experience that you and I shared. You invited me to come speak about Right Moves for You, the organization that I work for. And it was at a gathering of financial planners, I think.
Yes, it was. Yes.
And I came and it was great. Everything was fine. You know, I think I did all right representing the organization.
You did great.
Thank you. But I had this moment of looking, kind of skimming the room. And I noticed that everybody in the space representing the industry were white. It was all
Yes,
white
they were.
folks. And I think I mentioned something to you, or I said something, and
You did, and I was appalled and embarrassed. And I think I was recognizing it at the same time you were, because we were standing in the back of the room. You were looking around, I was looking around, I was going, it's like I can't magically wave a wand and change it, but I was completely embarrassed by it. I thought I try when I hire to look and find individuals that are different from that. And it's, when I was hiring at Bragg, I used to joke about I didn't want too many people from the bank, because that's how I could get some diversity kind of thing. And because it was so hard to find women or individuals of color. It was very difficult in the hiring process for us to find somebody in that space. But I do think it's a huge need. So I'd like to think, Sabrina, that more people know about it now. There are actually more programs out there and available for individuals to excel in this space. Social media probably helps a little bit with that. I'm not sure whether it really helps or hurts, because sometimes I think it convinces people that they could do everything on their own. Which is not always great. But I'm hoping that, like I said, I didn't learn about it till I was in my mid-40s. I'm hoping individuals can learn about it at a younger age and thoroughly enjoy a lifespan of helping others in this space.
Yeah. And I just want to elevate or highlight, us talking about the challenge of not quite as diverse representation in some of those larger scale gatherings of the industry, is not to bash the industry by any means or discourage anyone from going into that, but rather to say there is a critical need here, so for any woman, any person of color, that feels compelled to do God's work in this way, we're saying to you, we need you, right? There's a reason. There's a reason that you feel compelled to uplift people in this way. And I think you're right, Mary Lou. I don't know, and I know, Brad, Benton and Phil, like I know them, love them dearly, but I don't know if I would be as comfortable sharing, my financial history and my financial situation with them. No offense to them, but there's something about me being able to work with another woman that just makes me feel more comfortable.
So we ran into that when I retired. When I told them I was going to retire, we started searching for new advisors. We already had needed another one. So we actually searched and hired 2 advisors. But I specifically, when looking for some of my clients, needed someone who was very similar to me. So I wanted a female, because I do think that there are times when a female is much more comfortable talking with another female. The other piece, interesting enough, there are other females at Bragg who do the same role that I do. Sometimes it's just your personality. It's whether you provide that warmth and that feeling of, I'm your safe space. And you don't, and so I would tell people if they want to work with a financial advisor, that's kind of the feeling you want. You want somebody who you're willing to share your shame with. What you've done right, what you've done wrong, what your dreams are, what your goals are. Somebody who you want to have a conversation with, who's going to help get you back on the path financially that you want to be on. And so it's got to be somebody that you can relate to. And everybody relates to somebody different. I just happen to have a lot of older women who needed that more comforting type of personality. So it's not to say if you don't have a comforting personality, you can't do this. It's just to say that you will attract different people. Than the people that I tended to, that a lot of the individuals that I worked with at Bragg were there. But so I did run into, they preferred to talk to me as opposed to Benton or Phillips, because I was a woman.
Yeah.
So it does open up this great opportunity for women in this space.
Yeah. And what you're saying makes so much sense. As a therapist, one of the first things, that I learned in my training was people, not everybody's gonna stick with you. You're not everybody's cup of tea. Doesn't mean there's anything
Right.
wrong with you. That just means they need a better fit, right? And
Yeah.
that's what I think about as you describe that. Some unique challenges to women you've shared, but along with those unique challenges, there's also this huge opportunity if folks are
Yes,
interested in going
I
down
think
this
so.
path. So it kind of leads me to my next question, which is, what advice, and you've already given so many nuggets of wisdom, but what advice would you give to, let's say, a woman who wants to do God's work in the way that you're doing it?
Yeah. My advice is to go for it, to
Mm,
be your own advocate, to find other women in the field and connect with them,
mm,
and to make sure that you have each other's back. Sabrina, it goes back to this abundance, world of abundance. If you wanted to come in this space, I could lift you up and you can be in the space and I can be in the space. Actually, just had coffee with somebody this afternoon. She's a woman who's in her probably late 60s who is in this space, who we really just reconnected the other day. And she and I have had two phone calls, well, a phone call and a coffee visit already. And it's really, we're trying to figure out how can we help each other.
yeah.
What am I going to be doing that's different, slightly different from what she's going to be doing? And are there clients that she might want to send my way because of what I'm doing? Or I might want to send her way because she's taken a little bit of a different approach to it. So I really think it's this having each other's back.
Yeah.
It's lifting each other, it's lifting each other up and making sure, once again, I've got 80 gazillion books. So stay educated. You don't have to buy the books. You can probably see it all on the internet, but something about paper and flipping the pages and highlighting and that kind of stuff.
Me too. I get
it. Mine are just covered with yellow highlights everywhere. And other advice I would say is, and this is for anyone, whether you want to do what I'm doing or not, but you have to be willing to talk honestly about money.
Mm,
I've said it before. You need a safe space to do it in. You need to share your successes and your failures.
yeah.
If I can share a failure with you, you might learn something so that you don't make the same mistake
Yeah.
I did. We have money for a reason.
Mhm.
We use the barter system. It worked to a certain extent, but when all I had was eggs and you didn't need eggs, then I couldn't get the wood you were selling because all I had was eggs, kind of thing. So money had to come about. I know it's a huge focus in my life, and that really bothers me at times because I know that from a God perspective, it's not supposed to be the sole focus
Yeah.
of my life. But because it's my job, I kind of give myself a little bit of an out.
Absolutely. And you're helping the rest of us. Yeah, absolutely.
On that one. But it's one of those where I think that it's a tool.
Yeah.
And God wanted us to use this tool to survive and to help others.
Yeah.
Money is not the goal. Having money is not the goal. Using money wisely to help others is the goal.
Yeah. Thank you, because you gave so much, so many tips and so much wisdom. And I imagine if I am a woman wanting to, or just anybody, honestly, wanting to pursue this field, some of what I probably need to do is kind of get to the bottom of what you're saying. What are my money scripts? How do I begin to practice better money habits, or, improving my relationship with money so that when I do sit with others to help them, it's not one of those Pharisee moments where you do as I say and not as I do, but rather I'm practicing what I preach, right? And the other thing I'll just add, from my perspective as someone who is being helped by your gifts and by your work, it's been so empowering, where I thought that it was going to be, gruesome, and I was going to just beat myself up so much. I actually, I think, called or texted you one day and was like, Mary Lou, I'm having so much fun looking at this, because
Yeah.
it is really, I mean, you said something that if we were in church, I would have said, you better preach. You said you got to tell your money what to do. And so
Yeah.
often my money was telling me what to do. And if not my money, my emotions. If not my
Yeah.
emotions, my
Yeah.
bill collectors, but it's like, no, I can be empowered to tell my money what to do. So let's
Yeah.
figure out what I need to do differently to get to a place where I can declare to my money, this is where you need to go, right? And to me, that
Yeah.
is such a spiritual work. So, and you said something really powerful earlier too about the experience of, you didn't put it this way, but this is how I heard it. Um, some of the challenge of sort of that patriarchy, or that idea that a man needed to validate that you knew
Oh,
what
yeah.
you were talking about in the room. So
Yeah.
tell us, what advice would you have for men who want to support, ally, or advocate for women in this space?
So kind of similar, I would just say, um, talk to your partner about it. Just listen. So probably listen 9 times more than you talk,
Mm,
but have that safe space. You both need it. There are going to be things that you have done that you probably have shame around also. But I mean, this is one of the biggest reasons for divorce. And
mm,
as I mentioned earlier, even breaking up family relationships. If you've taken a loan from your brother, or, your uncle's always asking for a loan that he's never paying back, money can ruin relationships. So as a brother, as a partner, as a best friend, be there for each other. Don't lay shame. Help people see that everybody has failures and everybody has successes. And that if you can be an accountability partner for somebody,
yeah.
or if you can share a goal with them, to support them,
Mm,
to learn with them. If there's something they're trying to learn about, maybe you study and try and learn the same thing and have conversations about it. Maybe you both look at how you relate to money, what your personality is, what your money personality is, and talk about it, and talk about how'd you get that. Are there memories that you have of how this came about? What are things that you might want to change about it? What are your goals? I talked to somebody the other day who said to me, I think since she was 20, so about 25 years now, she's always had a 5-year goal. There's always a goal 5 years out there at a minimum. There's always that. For men that want to support women, or women that want to support women, it's the same thing. It's just having those conversations, being open, being supportive, being willing to be that accountability partner. Walk the path with each other.
yeah.
Talk about it with each other.
Yeah.
Help each other. We're all on a journey.
Yeah.
We're all on a journey. So if we can help each other on that journey, whether it's climbing up a big rock or sliding down the side of, whatever it is, we're all on a journey and we all need help
Yeah.
at times. And most people don't want to walk that journey alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you can be there for each other, and the biggest is being honest and having that safe space. If you don't feel safe, nobody's going to open up.
Mary Lou, thank you so much. This has been informative. It has been inspiring. I have been super excited about having you on this platform to share. Again, I don't know how many people really think about truly, building wealth so that we can give generously and live securely.
Yeah.
That is sacred work, just as sacred as, in my opinion, just as sacred as preaching a sermon, or to me, there's healing in this conversation, and healing in doing this work. So thank you for taking the time to share your journey
Absolutely.
and your wisdom with us. And as we wind down this conversation, this is one of my favorite portions of Voices of Wisdom. This is the portion that I call paying homage. And so, Mary Lou, is there a biblical woman, a woman in some other type of sacred text? I think I even tell people it can be a Disney character if you want to, but some woman that's your favorite kind of person, or a person that inspires you from a narrative place, from a story place.
Mine is an unusual, I don't know, maybe it's not. I think of it as an unusual answer. And it's really that I don't have one specific woman or a couple specific women that actually stand out to me. It's a woman who struggles that stands out to me. Someone who has to fight her inner and her outer demons, who has to fight for her rights. That's the person that stands out to me. And I understand people are going to look at me. I am privileged. I know that. I mean, that's just a flat out fact. I didn't have to fight for my education. I didn't have to fight for my right to work. I didn't have to fight really to prove that I was capable. But there are a lot of people out there that are having to fight fights like that are having to fight fights just to live to the next day.
Yeah.
And those, to me, are the women that I need to be paying homage to. I mean, really, because I don't know that I would have the strength that they have.
Wow.
To be able to do what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, you just got to have it. It's some of those fights that they are in. My heart goes out to them because I don't know that I'm strong enough to do what they do.
Yeah.
So I know it's not a Disney character.
That's
Sorry.
okay. No, might as well be. No, I love it. I love that answer because, and all of that, what I hear is you want to pay homage to the warrior women out there, to the women who are fighting their good fight, and actually like making it, right? Like you woke up today, right? You got out of bed today. You did what you had to do. And so everything within me as I hear and feel what you're saying, Mary Lou, I feel like you're saying a big, you go girl, like you did that, boo.
It's funny, sometimes when I'm out walking or running, I'll look and I'll see somebody else that's out and maybe they're going slower or something, but I'm like, but you got off the sofa.
Yeah.
You've laced up your shoes. You're out here.
Yeah.
So it's and honestly, some of those women really need it. They need that cheering on because it is difficult to get up the next day. It's difficult to get up and do the same fight all the time. And once again, I pay homage to them because I don't know that I could do it. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in that situation.
Yeah.
But I look at myself now and I think I don't know that I would have the ability to continue on day after day.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. That's beautiful, Mary Lou. Thank you. And then last but not least, in terms of paying homage, who is, or is there a specific woman, dead or alive, somebody you know, somebody you don't know personally, but you know their persona or whatever, is there a woman that you believe we should shout out as doing God's work? Another woman doing God's work that you like, we need to shout this woman out.
I've got two on that one.
For it.
So I came up with two on that one. So one is a woman that I met when we were living in Florida for a while, and her name is Debbie Young, and she brought me back to the church. I had really kind of started to drift away. And you're going to laugh. We used to play tennis together a lot. And when we were riding in the car, she would turn on Christian rock music, which I used to poo-poo for the longest time because I'm like, no, traditional hymns are the way to go. I used to poo-poo it. And we would sing to the top of our on the top of our lungs to those songs. And to this day, when my husband's not around, I will turn on Christian rock stations and the songs I know, I'm sure the people around me are just like covering their ears because they can't stand to hear me screeching. But so to her, just because she kind of brought me back to the church. And then my second person is you. You keep me centered. You do. You continually show me the face of God. and make me want to do better. And so I love having you in my life. And I know sometimes we've got periods where we don't see each other for a long period of time, but every conversation I have with you is enlightening. Somehow we touch on the God pieces of it, no matter what we're talking about. Somewhere it plays into the conversation. And so you keep me centered around that, and you keep bringing back God into my life also. Yeah. So to Sabrina Nichole.
I was not prepared for that.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, thank you. Thank you. I am deeply touched and very humbled, and trying hard not to cry. But thank you, Mary Lou, and likewise. Meant every word. You are one of my angels that God sent to help me get my life. And whether it's, Sabrina, keep going, you're doing great, or you're pulling me by the collar saying, now you know better, come on, we can do better, and I just value you so very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Mary Lou, I know after this conversation, there are countless people who feel connected to you, who maybe want to reach out for some of your services or more wisdom, insight, connection. How can people get in touch with you? How can people contact you if they are looking for your services?
Email is probably the best way. And it's Mary Lou, so my first name, all written as one word, Mary Lou at dalyfinancialcoaching.com.
Perfect. And for those of you who are like, can she repeat it? Don't worry. You can find it in the description. You'll be able to click right on there and send Mary Lou an email. And also come back every now and then, check out this video and the description, because we will, in not too long from now, we'll be able to post and have Mary Lou's website available for you. So keep checking back. Which you're going to do that
when
anyway.
You're looking for it, it will be dalyfinancialcoaching.com will be the website. But I can't let anybody see it until I get approved by the state of North Carolina.
So, right. And we don't want you getting in trouble. Yes, it is coming soon, but you've got so much goodness for us to push you to get in trouble with North Carolina. So we're just going to keep coming back and checking this video.
There we go.
For when the website is up and ready for us. Mary Lou, thank you so much. And I do think that because of the friendship that we have, it's all right for me to say, I love you. I love you, girl.
I do.
All right. Thank you again to the audience for tuning in to Voices of Wisdom with Sabrina Nichole. We'll see you next time.